You want to get to it? Okay, a long time ago, I heard another Unitarian minister tell the story, relate his experience that every time he preached from Christian scripture, because I do that sometimes, but not all the time, there was this one member of the congregation who would give him feedback every time on how uncomfortable it was to hear Jesus mentioned in his sermons. I say this in part because you're going to get a lot of Jesus today. But the real punchline is this. After years of this, she meets with him and she says, with surprise and with grief, she says, I finally realized it wasn't Jesus I hated. He was radical, and his message of love is pretty cool, actually. I hated that my aunt shoved Jesus down my throat for my whole childhood. In this present age of rising Christian nationalism, where Jesus is white and militant and wants to make America great again, and you can buy his branded Bibles for $59.99, I have a different story to tell you. Like Unitarians and Universalists have been doing for centuries, we are gathered to remember what that man did before he died, not to speculate about what came after. And we don't retell this gospel story for the historical account that it provides, but for the heart story that it describes, because we've lived that same kind of story too. The old story says that Jesus spent his whole ministry making a community of radical inclusion and hospitality and welcome real, in fact, among people in this world. And in the end, the teacher goes up to Jerusalem knowing he'll be betrayed and killed, and goes anyway, joyful and hopeful and beautiful and undeceived. He goes to share the good news, which is an invitation into this life. And how different it can be when love is the thing at the center of it, when compassion is the thread that you follow through the maze of the world. The whole of his work, all the way to the end, was joyful and heartbroken. And we retell that story here in this house to each other. Christians, some, but mostly not. Atheists and Buddhists and mystics and humanists and religious naturalists. We retell this story every Easter, not because we're interested in the religion about Jesus, but because we're trying to do the same thing he invited his people into, to live open-eyed and broken-hearted and deeply in love with a hurting world as it is, as it can become, as we can become. I'm not, on Easter, really ever interested in the fact of the resurrection. I don't believe in the fact of the resurrection, but I know what the truth of resurrection looks like. I know it firsthand in my own living. I've seen it in others. I've heard your stories, too, of what it is to come back to life again. From grief, from loss, from addiction, from hopelessness, to find a way through that narrow living that squeezes the breath out of you. We retell the myth because it's not about something that never happened, it's about something happening over and over and over. M.J. Kaiser writes this, explains Easter, points the way to what that all means. They write, "Keep your proclamations of grandeur. Give me Easter, small as a seed. One that can be planted while it's still cold outside. One that can be watered with tears and demands time and patience to grow. I don't know how large it will become, how long until it blossoms, or even if it will be pretty. I only want it to grow roots that dig deep down, striving for life in the underbelly of the world. Spare me the cosmic promises of otherworldly escape and point me to the sacred possibilities within reach. Tell me again how the nutrients born from decay keep even the saddest places brimming with potential for life. This is our